Hello and welcome to the
We Got It
podcast. I'm your host, Jonah, along with Abby, and we're excited to be with you for another episode this week.
Heck yeah.
As always, we'd like to remind you guys that We Got It podcast is an official podcast of Spartans Illustrated. And if you haven't checked out a lot of their content online on social media, please do so. It's great. Some of that content is done by mine and Abby's truly. So it's always be able to fun to put that work out in written form and video form, just based off of men's football, men's basketball. It's always, so check it out. If you are interested in that kind of stuff, subscribing is a great way to not only support us, but also just be able to get a lot of great content straight to your phone, straight to whatever device you want. So make sure to go check out Spartans Illustrated. As far as our podcast goes, we appreciate if you guys could just give us a follow, subscribe. It helps us grow just our reach to be able to make sure that more and more Spartans feel like they have it too when it comes to Michigan State athletics. One more plug. I just want to plug a little bit our Nudge Printing swag.
I was thinking about that. I was putting on this sweatshirt today and I was like, this sweatshirt is so comfy and so cozy. And the people over at Nudge are just so nice. They heard that we like their stuff and they sent us a box of goodies last year and I wear them all the time. Quality's fantastic. Also, they're not paying us to say any of that. We just genuinely really enjoy their stuff. And I feel like they have so many cool designs that you can't find other places. Your hat is
totally,
Nudge,
yeah. My hat is also Nudge. Unfortunately, the hoodie is not, but I like this hoodie as well. So, but anyways, check out Nudge if you're needing more Spartan gear.
One more plug. We have been on 2 episodes of the Red Cedar Radar podcast hosted by Spartan Illustrated's very own Sydney Paget. She is like the woman who can do it all. She is writing articles. She's running her own podcast. She's taught herself these incredible sports photography skills. She's been road tripping across the United States. So a lot of the sick pictures that you've seen from the Nebraska game, the Iowa game, that's all Sydney Paget. She's super cool. And if you haven't checked out those episodes, we joined her after the Colgate game and the San Jose State game to kind of recap. I know it's a little bit old games, but we're hoping to be joining her for some more episodes and just really thankful for her feature. I know this kind of gets long sometimes at the beginning, but it's such a testament to how many cool things are going on in the Spartan athletics world. And it's just so fun to be a fan. I think in this era of technology and stuff, you just get to see more of the cool things that people are doing. And we just want to shout those things out. And yeah, we're just super glad that you're here with us. Like Jonah said, welcome to any new listeners. We're here really to be your one-stop shop, as much as we'd love for you to head over to Spartans Illustrated and subscribe and all those things. We know that keeping up with all of the sports news can be a lot. So we hope to be, I always say this, a 30 or 45 minute episode. Oftentimes it ends up more like an hour. But just a quick way for you to find out what's going on in the Spartan sports world so that you can be in the know, feel like you can participate in those conversations, kind of feel like a real fan. You are always a real fan though, no matter if you listen or not. All right, we got a lot to cover as usual. We're gonna start out just to give you a little what to expect out of this episode. We're starting with football.
So if you need to take your headphones off for the next 10, 15 minutes, you're safe to do so.
We're so snarky. We love our football program. I hope you guys know that deep in your soul. And I think something that we have talked about that's really important to us is when this podcast just reflects your and my weekly, daily conversations about Michigan State sports. We started this whole thing because we're husband and wife that don't ever stop talking about Michigan State sports. And I kind of started of I'm really passionate about basketball. So are you, but you're really passionate about football. And we've learned a lot from each other, mostly me learning from Jonah, which is where a whole Spartan seminar segment started from. Used to be called We Got It Covered segment if you've listened before. We just really want it to reflect those kind of conversations. And it's not always all sunshine and happiness and roses. Sometimes we're frustrated with the decisions that are made or disappointed that our team isn't doing better. And also, we still bleed green. So I hope we don't ever come across as negative, but I also don't want to come across as like
disingenuous.
Yeah, or just like, oh, we have to be optimistic because like this is awesome. And then I just think that yeah, that's not real or fun anyway. Like, I don't know. You guys let us know if you'd rather us sit here and be like, oh, football program's great. It's going places. I have so much hope for next year. I mean, we can bring a little more of that. Okay, sorry, getting back to it. Starting with football, we're going to get you caught up to speed with some Spartan halftime updates because, as you know, Michigan State football and basketball are not the only programs that are, frankly, crushing it. And then we will wrap up with a segment on the basketball team, men's basketball team. All right, Jonah. I was working yesterday. I got out in time to watch most of the Iowa-Michigan State game. I will say that I was a lot more focused on editing a locker room video from the men's basketball team than I was on that football game. I kind of thought we actually might have a win.
Yeah.
And then the last minute and a half happened.
Yeah, it was definitely a largely encouraging game, I would say, outside of the last 5 or so.
We're bringing that positivity,
minutes.
Man.
I mean, the defense, I'll say, again, outside the last 5 minutes, really came to play. I think it was midway through the third quarter, and Iowa still didn't have an offensive touchdown. They were under 200 total yards. Defense was really keeping the Spartans in the game, but then also just making a lot of plays. And that's really, I think, kind of start off on a positive. I think that's something that we've seen really the last several weeks, even I would say going back to the Michigan game.
Yeah.
At the very least, a lot more, I feel like, effort and just like tenacity from the defensive side of the ball.
Has Joe Rossi, defensive coordinator, continued to be on the sideline?
He has, and that's really been when the switch happened for this defense. Like, if you go back to the Michigan game, the Minnesota game, the Penn State game, now the Iowa game, like the defense really played well enough in all 4 of those games to at least give the offense a shot. Unfortunately, in most of these games, the offense hasn't done enough to make that happen, and then the defense
just stalls out in the second half, man.
And too, like when you're playing that well and just the pressure just remains on you the whole game, like it's not surprising that we're seeing maybe some of these lapses late in games to kind of give up scores and give up some of these games.
It's funny because I remember talking about like the first 4 or 5 games of the season, how our defense really needed to step up because we were requiring the offense to be executing perfectly and basically scoring touchdowns on just about every drive in order to win games. And now we're almost feel like it's kind of been flipped on its head. Like, offense has been really struggling since the Nebraska game. And it's been defense more who's been like keeping Michigan State in things into later games situations, maybe not actually like really in it, but especially when it came to Iowa on the road, like they showed a very tough effort for 30 plus minutes of that game.
Yeah, which is just really odd, and obviously there's been a lot of injuries to the offensive line. That's definitely been the weak point in the offense these last several weeks. You've had a change in quarterback, but like
Alante Brown's been out for most of the season.
I mean, I feel like quarterback play probably isn't the main issue. Like I think the main issue is just offensive line not being able to create much of a run game and not being able to protect the quarterback. Like I guess going into another positive, I feel like despite the situation that Alessio has been put into as the newly starting quarterback, he stands in the pocket strong. He's delivering balls late while he's getting hit, not kind of letting that pressure, I feel like, in most situations get to him or fluster him, which is, I think, some stuff that we saw of Aiden Childs, and especially like that Nebraska game, UCLA game, where it seems like once he kind of lost trust in his offensive line, that really affected his play, and we haven't seen that yet from Milivojevic.
Yeah.
So I think that's something to build off of, and I think he's played pretty solid these last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the 2 touchdown passes he had in the third quarter against Iowa to Krishan McCray to give the Spartans a 10 point lead is some positives I think you can take into, like, whether it's Jonathan Smith next year or whether it's somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, he is maybe a guy that you would want to have back to be a part of this team, because I think he's shown some pretty positive traits despite a not great situation that he's been put into for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Well, and I think I like how you use the word yet, because not in a way of like doubting Alessio necessarily. Like, I don't think he's given us anything to be mad about when it comes to like his ability to hang in there, right? And to not get rattled and to just keep putting his body on the line, even when he doesn't have a lot to trust from his offensive line. But it's kind of like that yet of like, if his body keeps getting punished the way that it has been getting punished, like there's an element of like that's gonna seep in.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that is like for Childs too. Like, I think that was something we criticized earlier in the season of like, man, if he could just sit in that pocket for half a second longer. Like, it felt like he was always had a little bit more time than he was actually giving himself. How hard to like train your
Mentally.
body out of that fight or flight response when you've been beaten for it multiple times, like when it's come back to bite you. Yeah, I've been really impressed with him. I think he's been put into a, quite frankly, like pretty impossible situation this season. Like, dead smack in the middle of Big Ten play, all of a sudden, like, you're stepping up, you're taking, front line. So yeah, just really impressed by Alessio. And I think it's just got to be really challenging to get that chemistry going. Like, we've talked about that so much with Childs and his receivers, and he had a whole season and a half and an off season to do that. And now Alessio's having to step into those shoes. I think you brought up like keeping guys around for next year, and who knows how much of a say Michigan State coaching staff, athletic department really even has in that. Do we start thinking about like, I don't know, because we don't have any clue what's going on with the head coaching position. Media availability was released, I think, for this week, and Jonathan Smith is slated, so don't think he's going anywhere this week. We didn't think he was, regardless of the outcome of the Iowa game, but it's very possible he's not going anywhere regardless. Like, is it too early to talk about who we think is going to the transfer portal, who's coming back? Is there any like hints of where people like Nick Marsh, Aiden Childs, like all these different people are leaning? Like,
yeah, I mean, that's the question.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I think until we have some more clarity on what is going to be the situation for next year, what the coaching staff is going to look like, we don't really have an idea of who might transfer in or out, if there's a new coach or if Jonathan Smith stays, because I feel like both decisions could impact different players in their decision.
Yeah. When does transfer portal open? Beginning of December?
It's like 14 days, like in the middle of December.
Okay.
I believe.
Because I remember it going like over Christmas last year.
Yeah, it's been condensed from like 30 days, I believe, to like 14 days.
Okay, I kind of like that.
And there's not now a spring transfer portal window. So it's all going to be happening.
When did that change?
This year, yeah.
Oh, okay. So this last year was the last year of there being the spring.
So it's definitely going to be interesting.
I kind of like that. Does that mean the green and white game's coming back?
In some ways, too, like, it does just make it difficult on, I feel like, all programs across the country, because it's so condensed as far as that goes, and some teams are still going to be playing, so players on like who are on bowl teams or playoff teams are going to have to make those tough decisions on whether or not they enter the portal or not. So like, it's be interesting to see like how that affects the number of players entering the portal.
Is it bad that I like that there's less opportunities for transfers? No. Like, it just feels like it was so easy for kids to transfer. Like, oh, you're not happy with how the football season went? Okay, you can, transfer over 30-day period over Christmas. And like, oh, you don't really like how things are shaping up for you in, limited spring training? Like, you can, maybe jump ship. Like, there's got to be some, we've talked about this so much, like just it's getting to be so transactional between schools and athletes, or it almost feels like this is like an employer employee relationship, which I just think gets super muddy when they're student athletes. And there's a reason why we have pro sports and we have college sports. I personally, maybe that's not great of me, but like, to keep collegiate sports what they are, I kind of like that there's more restrictions on
and like
transfer.
in the larger scheme of college football, obviously I hope there's a lot of options for Michigan State to pursue this
and I can
offseason,
see how it's the opposite, right?
But also I feel like, like you said, in the larger scope of college athletics, I do hope that like if a lot of these guys are still in their season because of bowl games or the playoffs, they decide not to transfer, and to stick it out with their team. So we see some of this less of this transience that we see so often much with college football. But I think these questions that you're asking are really great questions, because not only is the transfer portal coming up, but a week from Wednesday, so the Wednesday after Thanksgiving, is early signing day for the 2026 recruiting class. So really that's when 90% of high school recruiting is wrapped up, and 90% of players sign their letter of intent.
I was literally just going to ask that, because I was like, what does early signing day mean? Like, does that mean 10% are signing up, 50%? But you're saying like 90% of recruits for the next year?
Yeah.
Would this be for 2026?
Yep.
Okay. So these are current high school seniors signing kind of on the dotted line as much as you can.
Right.
For committing. Like, it's pretty locked in at that point.
Exactly. Okay. And there's National Signing Day.
No pressure.
That occurs in February too. Okay. But there's like a 3-day window here in November where, like I said, vast majority of seniors will sign. And if they're not already committed, commit to a school for the following season. So when you have this just lack of clarity within the program right now, whether you don't know if Jonathan Smith is going to be retained, you don't know if he's going to be fired, like there's also a lot of uncertainty between a lot of these high school kids that are currently committed to Michigan State. And I know I've talked
hoping to commit to Michigan State
with some people, and there's a lot of current commits who are also like kind of anxious about Michigan State's lack of clarity, because they don't know if they are planning on signing.
Any of the coaching staff they got recruited under is still going to be there, or maybe they're committing to Michigan State hoping that there's going to be a change.
A lot of factors, and I think this are the kind of things that so many Michigan State fans, recruits, and families are thinking about, because obviously Jonathan Smith hasn't been fired, but also J-Bat hasn't come out and kind of said, confirmed. Hey, we're going to stick with Jonathan Smith, like several other schools
we're all in the dark
have done. And that at least brings clarity, and I think
you're saying if he had come out and said, yes, we're sticking with Jonathan Smith, that brings clarity.
Yes.
Not that he hasn't said anything. Okay.
And if you have that clarity, at least the recruits can make a educated decision. And the current players who maybe are considered in transfer portal have that more information to know what next year is going to look like.
And I think that's where, like, you and I have had a lot of conversations about that this fall, even like with Penn State getting rid of their coach in the middle of the season. I kind of was like, I don't know, maybe my mindset is like evolving a little bit, because before I was arguing, like, I don't see how firing your coach in the middle of the season helps anybody. Like, your leader's gone, you're scrambling the rest of your season to try to make things work. And you've had like some good counter arguments of like, sometimes that bolsters morale, like especially if the head coach wasn't, but I can see how that's another reason to make that decision, or, make it clear what's going to happen one way or the other is for those incoming recruits, because the longer you're in this muddy, like, is this going to be the coach? Is this not? It opens the door for other teams to sneak in and snag your recruits. And that's happened, right?
Yeah.
With a couple are suspected to be happening with a couple of Michigan State recruits.
I mean, we've already had one player at least decommit.
Yeah.
There's a couple others who have been taking official visits.
And had some pretty positive things to say about those other schools. Like, So I don't know. Is that another reason you would say that it's like kind of helpful to know?
I mean,
where
I think it's
things go?
definitely the lack of clarity is not helping things on several different fronts. And yeah, I think I'm a little frustrated by that. I think a lot of people are frustrated by that. Like, I mean, if you've been listening to the podcast, you probably already know that I'm of the camp that thinks that we should probably move on from Jonathan Smith. But at this point, I'd rather them say we're keeping Smith than not saying anything at all, just because of all those factors that are at play.
Because it's like, how much like more evidence do you need for or against? And I think that's where we were like our conversation last week of just like, is, you know, J-Bat wearing boots too big for his feet? Like, and it's just so hard to know. Like, there's so many myriad of factors, and we're sitting here in our, you know, dining room chatting about it. But like, yeah, there is a lot at stake, and it does feel confusing. Like, if you are behind Jonathan, why haven't you come out and said so? And I get there's probably no benefit in, you know, if theoretically the athletic department has decided to part ways with him, like, is there really a benefit to doing it today versus the end of the season and just like dealing with it for another week? I don't know. It's just hard to know. And, you know, here's the thing too, is like, if we stay with Jonathan Smith next season, I want like listeners to know, like, we're not just going to be like, oh, we should have gotten rid of Smith and this is so dumb and yada, yada, yada. Like, it's going to be what it is. We're going to have to roll with it. This is a huge topic of conversation. So right now I feel like you and I are both in the camp of like, I think maybe a different choice would be better. But that's not also just like closing the door on Smith. He's had one off season, like one full off season really to get things rolling. You know, the amount that we were able to transfer in over last year wasn't fantastic. And building does take time. And I think part of the reason everyone feels so exhausted from rebuilding is that we've basically been doing it since D'Antonio. And so even though it feels like we've been rebuilding forever, like Jonathan Smith really has only had a year and a half to do that. So I just want to, you know, just preface that. I want you to know we're not going to be like little curmudgeons about it. If he stays, we might have opinions and we're going to talk about it and dissect things, but like, it's not just going to be the negative Nancy show.
I think too, like, what makes, at least this is my thought or read on the situation, not based off of any intel or
like just
anything,
your personal opinion.
But I truly don't know if Michigan State has made a decision yet.
Right.
And at this point, I don't think they're waiting on more on-field, like, what is a win versus Maryland really going to do next week to help him? Or what is a loss to Maryland really going to do to further hurt his
I'm sure it's way more of like what's going on behind the scene, what options are available, like.
Exactly. Like you said, what options are available, the financial impact of it, because the reality is whether or not Michigan State has the money for the buyout, if they're using that money in the buyout, how much of an impact does that have then on your NIL for the transfer portal in the upcoming class? So I think those are the kind of things that the athletic department are kind of weighing. Or do we see if, hey, we keep Smith another year, we're not having that financial liability of paying two coaches. Maybe we can put more into NIL and be more competitive in the transfer portal this year to kind of see how it shakes out. Because what does seem like clear, especially based off of both Jordan Hall and Alessio after the game yesterday, is like, I think the team for the most part
like really likes Jonathan Smith.
Respects Jonathan Smith. I think other coaches respect Jonathan Smith, and I don't think Jonathan Smith is necessarily a bad coach. I just think that he hasn't been a good fit for Michigan State, and quite plainly, it hasn't been working out.
Because he was a good coach. Like, he had good success at Oregon State, but that's a very different world. I mean, just completely different world than Midwest, Big Ten. Like, it just truly is. And it's not necessarily that like those coaching skills are going to transfer, or the type of coach you are is going to transfer well to that setting. And that's something that I think just makes me sad. And I hope that's not something that's coming across from us. And, I really hope it's just not how the Spartan community is either. Like, in criticism of Jonathan Smith, never once have I like wanted to make it personal. I think it was Jordan Hall that came out and said, like, I don't understand all the hate on coach. Like, he's a great man, really respect him. And like, I have no doubt that Jonathan Smith is a great man. Like, the fact that he can carry himself with so much poise and stoicism does say a lot about his character. I have some other opinions on it too. Like, but that aside, like, I do think he's a good coach and a good person. I'm sure he's a great leader in many aspects, but like you said, just maybe not the fit for like what is needed at Michigan State. And maybe it is, and it truly just needs more time. I think the kicker for me is like, if this ends up being a financial thing of like, we just truly cannot afford to get rid of Jonathan Smith this year, and we just kind of like bide our time and then potentially get rid of him at the end of next year so that we have more funds. Like, that's just, I think, going to make it really hard on the fan base if we don't see some success next year, because it's just going to be like another year gone without really like building on it.
Yeah, because I mean, that's
Do you know what I mean?
Not a good situation at all to be in if the decision is solely financial and not due to
not that we're saying that it is, but like,
right. But if it's not due to any
if that's a big factor,
belief in Jonathan Smith, and it's just like, we have to kind of postpone this to next year when we can maybe afford it. Like, bringing in then a lame duck coach who you don't really believe in, but you're keeping because you kind of have to. It's just like not good for any parties involved. Jonathan Smith, the team, the athletic department, the fans. It just hurts everybody.
Obviously, you'd hope if that was, I know we're getting into so many hypothetical situations, but like, you would hope if that was the case, nobody would really know that except, baby J-Bat. Like, everyone else would feel that they're still hoping, and then maybe something miraculous could happen, and who knows, right? Like, who knows? Well, people keep quoting Dan Campbell was, what, did he win a game in his season when he was head coach? What am I saying?
Yeah, he did win.
What was Dan Campbell's record his first season as head coach at the Lions? Woo!
It was like 4-12 or
okay, so
3-13.
There's room for growth.
Yeah,
we're not gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater. We just we'll see if the bathwater goes or not. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that's. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think when it comes to Jonathan Smith's future, nobody knows anything unless you're J-Bat, really.
Two little conspiracy theorists over here.
And I think one way or the other, next weekend, there'll be some kind of statement from J-Bat, whether that's we're keeping Smith or we're not. And obviously, like you said, like, they're not going to come out with a statement and say, well, we don't really want to keep Smith, but we kind of have to because we can't afford getting rid of him. Like,
you see, we got this big NCAA fine, and Mel Tucker's settlement still isn't settled, and no, they're not going to do that.
But anyways, that's the state of the football program. So very fun times. They'll have a chance to not be the first Michigan State team since the 50s to go winless in the Big Ten. Next weekend against Maryland, probably the worst.
Good old Terrapins.
Worst team they've faced since Boston College. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how the Spartans.
That's not encouraging. That Boston College game was tough.
Well, I'm not saying it to be encouraging necessarily, but
no, I know. I'm just thinking back to how much of a brawl that game was.
It's
happening at a neutral site, Ford Field, which like I'm sure will come with its own interesting elements.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see how many fans are actually there. I know Ticketmaster just sent on a thing where you could, if you bought 2 tickets, you can claim 2 free ones.
Oof, that's not boding well.
So I hope like a holiday weekend, it's inside, like something to do with the family on a holiday weekend to still support. Like, I know I've talked to a lot of people who were there a couple years ago when it was a blowout versus Penn State, and they still had fun. So hopefully there's still a good amount of Spartan fans there supporting.
Good excuse to get down to Detroit, and it's great environment.
Right. But anyways, I think that's probably enough football talk for now. I'm sure we will have a lot to talk about next week, because hopefully Sunday night of next week we will have clarity on the future of
Dear
Jonathan
goodness,
Smith.
I hope so. If we don't by next episode, I don't know. We might just look at the camera for 10 minutes and not say anything.
But let's turn to some other news. Let's do our halftime report.
Lots of positives, lots of highlights.
Yeah, some
for the
negatives
most part.
as well.
That's true.
Where do you want to start, Abby?
Let's just get the negatives out of the way. We've been on a negative kick. Let's get it out of our system.
Yeah, so men's hockey this weekend hosted Wisconsin at Munn Ice Arena. And coming in number one team in the country on what I believe an 11-game winning streak.
Yeah.
And the Badgers kind of just bullied the Spartans a little bit.
Maybe put us in our place, gave us a little ego check.
Not that the Spartans weren't in either of these games, but they were felt like they were kind of playing catch up the whole time in both of these games. Losing to Wisconsin, I want to say it was 5-3 on Friday night.
Sure, sounds right to me.
But then on Saturday night, they ended up losing to Wisconsin in overtime.
Dang.
So
very competitive. Like, it's not like, Wisconsin's getting a shutout. It's not like Michigan State. It's not competitive through, the full game time. But
just seemed to be like a little more sloppy. Wisconsin seemed pretty motivated. Not their best weekend of hockey, but still in a great place. I don't think this changes anything about the overall outlook of this team for this season.
And I think it's just so challenging. The longer you sit at, top rank number one, like just the larger and larger and larger the target on your back grows. And I think sometimes the more motivated and the more pitted your adversaries become to bring their best game against you. And conversely, I think it's a little easy, as Tom Izzo would like to say, to get a little fat and sassy. Not that I'm, saying that of the hockey team, but just it's just so much harder to constantly remain at the top all the time. I have so much confidence in this team. Like, they've shown that they can bring it against top opponents, and I'm sure next weekend Adam Nightingale's going to have them just cranking.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're actually off next week because of Thanksgiving.
Sorry, the next weekend that they play. But then Thanksgiving's really throwing me off, man.
I believe the next series is against Michigan, who's ranked number 2 in the country. So that's going to be a big,
very tough
big series. Like we talked about last week, there'll be one game at Munn and one game at Yost in Ann Arbor. So it'll be very interesting to see how those two teams kind of stack up against each other, because they've kind of looked like the cream of the crop this season in college hockey.
Yeah, and it's always going to, any Michigan State, Michigan matchup is always going to be crazy. Were the two losses from Wisconsin enough, you think, to knock Michigan State out of number one, given that they're, had been basically 11 in a row?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know how Michigan did this weekend. I would tend to think that Michigan might be number one, but I don't honestly feel like I'm comfortable enough when it comes to college rankings.
When we say we're here to be kind of your one-stop shop for Michigan State sports, it's kind of like the vibes, of just like, oh yeah, the hockey team's doing really good this season. They've won 11 in a row. We might not know all the ins and outs.
Yes, that's true. We're not experts in all the sports.
We're just
or any of the sports.
We're just, we're just yapping, and you guys get to join us. So thanks for that. On another note, women's basketball continues to just dominate in their kind of early season non-conference play. They put up 101 points
102.
against. I got to get this straight. 101 points, I think, against Eastern Illinois on Thursday. I think Eastern Illinois had like 53. So, that score brought their average total points on the season down. That tells you anything about how they've been doing. And then almost with an identical score today against Oakland. Both those games were at the Breslin Center, 102 to 41 or something insane, something ridiculous like that. It's just like defensively and offensively, the girls are just rolling. Look, Grace Van Sluten is averaging over 17 points a game, which is just nutty. And that's with a lot of like bench players contributing. I think she's only averaging like 24 minutes a game. That's like
pretty efficient.
Almost a point a minute that you are in playing. It's kind of crazy. They will have a game on Friday against Temple. I think it's around like 6:30, if that's sounding about right. So, if you're still in your, post turkey coma on Friday, be sure to turn the game on. And then they will start conference play against Wisconsin in early December, which is crazy. Big Ten conference play is coming up quick for both the men and women's basketball teams. But again, women's basketball, not the only dominant women this week.
Yeah, the women's soccer team continued their quest in the NCAA tournament this weekend as they hosted 5-seed Colorado at DeMartin Stadium in East Lansing. And Spartan women got a goal in the first minute of the game.
Crazy.
Kind of take control, take
Coming
command.
Out, swinging.
Colorado did get an equalizer in the first half, but then the Spartans got the game-winning goal in the 56th minute to win 2-1 to reach the Elite Eight for the first time in program history.
Wow.
So they continue their march, and there's a chance that we might not even have seen the last of them in East Lansing this year. They'll either play next Friday or Saturday. Depends on the outcome of Monday's game between one-seeded BYU and one-seeded Stanford and 5-seeded BYU. So if Stanford wins that game, the Spartans will travel to Palo Alto, California, to face them in the Elite Eight. But if BYU wins, then they will host the Cougars again in East Lansing for a potential berth at the College Cup next week.
Yeah, and I think since we talked to you guys last too, not only did Michigan State women's soccer team beat Colorado, but they beat Wake Forest on Thursday. So, advanced to the Sweet 16 and then now on to the Elite Eight. Just super impressive. I felt like last season they just had so much potential and just didn't quite make as deep of a run into the tournament as I think a lot of people were like hoping and expecting. So it's just super cool to see, Jeff Hostler's commitment paying off and just all the hard work from them, especially after a really heartbreaking loss in the Big Ten championship. So I'm just like so excited that that didn't hold them back from all the success that they've had. In the postseason so far.
Yeah, lots going on in Spartan athletics. But let's talk some basketball.
Heck yeah. I'm always so happy to talk about basketball.
Since our last episode coming off of the Kentucky win, the men's team had another game on Friday night against University of Detroit Mercy, and Spartans came away on top. Won by almost 30. It was like 86 to 54, something like that.
We're here for the vibes, not for the accuracy. That's what you got ESPN for. You can open that app real quick.
But I mean, kind of a weird game.
Yeah.
But also like it
was fine.
Never in question dominated Detroit. I know. I kind of heard Tom Izzo after the game, kind of in passing, he was saying, we kind of just existed tonight.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really good way to put it. Because it was like, we played well. You won by almost 30 points. No, there wasn't like this insane level of play. But I just think like they had just been traveling back from New York. I think Tom was saying they really only got like a practice and a half in between Kentucky and Detroit Mercy. They just come off of like 4 really tough, initial games. And I think they knew that they could breathe a little bit more against Detroit Mercy. I think some of it too, they were playing one of Tom's former players, former assistant coaches. And Tom has just always been very clear about like he hates those games. I think he doesn't bring the same level of intensity, I would venture, just because like he doesn't want to. I don't know. I can't imagine what that would be like coaching against someone that you mentored and who worked for you up until like a year ago.
Yeah, 2024.
And like Mark Montgomery, or Monty as a lot of people call him, was talking about how like he helped recruit like Jeremy Fears Jr. and Carson Cooper and develop a lot of those players. So it's got to be kind of funky. And so I could just see why maybe Tom's not just like foot on the gas pedal, like let's make them pay sort of attitude. And I'm not mad about it. Like we know clearly from the Arkansas game, from the Kentucky game, that the guys know how to lock in. And maybe they just need some games where it's like, nope, it's okay not being at 100%. We can be at 80%. It's fine. I will say in that first half, I was pretty excited about our 3-point shooting. And then in the second half, we made like 20 3-point attempts and airballed about 5 of them.
Yeah, we shot 23 3-pointers in the second half, and I think they made like 4 or 5 of them.
It wasn't great. Because I think our 3-point shooting average was almost at like 40% after the first half, and then I think it dropped.
At one point, I think early in the second half, we were 5 for 10,
Yeah.
and then we finished, I think, 7 for 27. So 2 out of our last 17
something like that
threes.
Anyway.
But I think, again, like, there's only so much you can take out of games like this. Obviously, a big week ahead as they travel down to Fort Myers to play Eastern Carolina on Tuesday, and then North Carolina on Thanksgiving right after the Lions.
So excited. It's going to be so many good sports. And I get to be with all of my crazy Spartan family. We get to watch it all together. I'm so excited.
But I think this game specifically, like, I think the conversation has to start with Jeremy Fears.
Yeah.
Just playing at such a high level in really all aspects of his game right now, and not only looking like a good point guard, but like looking like one of the best point guards in the entire country, I would say.
And I think because he is such a leader, like just his presence on the court, like we've talked about before, like he makes himself known wherever he is. He's yapping, he's taking up space, but he is also like talking to his teammates all the time, and I think calling a lot of shots when it comes, to play calling and setting up plays and talking in the huddle and getting his guys' heads in the right space, which is just pretty remarkable to see from, he's, technically a junior, but redshirt sophomore, and someone who was really out of commission for, much of, it wasn't like a typical redshirt year. Like he was, very much out of commission and recovering from a very serious, injury. And I think you talked to him after the game. He was emphasizing just how much this off season led to him being able to be where he's at now, right?
Yeah, I know, because you think about him as a freshman, you're kind of coming in later than the rest of the team. You're not getting that full off season of like strength and conditioning, but then also on the practice court. And thinking about coming into last year, recovering from his injury, again, didn't really get a full off season. So now coming in, like you said,
he was focused so much on rehabbing, not like getting to the next level physically, skill wise, mentally, even gameplay. It was just physically learning how to walk again. Like I think he said that to you, like just really figuring out how to use his leg again. And then this year he really was just able to focus on how can I make my basketball game, my body better.
Yeah, and we're seeing that in so many different ways this year. Like obviously right now he's leading the country in assists per game at nearly 11 per game, which is just crazy. An incredible pace. Like who knows if he'll be able to pick up.
And I think he's averaging less than like 2 turnovers a game too.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I think he has like 54 assists through 5 games and 10 turnovers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And like right now on pace to crush Michigan State's single season record, but also right now on pace to beat the all-time Big Ten record in assists.
Crazy.
Like, through 53 games, I think he has 8 or 9 more assists than Cassius Winston did.
That's crazy. And he's the current assist all-time assist leader
in the Big Ten.
And you've said that, is it Braden Smith for Purdue is expected to
beat that
pretty
record.
easily
but
beat
then,
that record.
Jeremy
Fears is hot on his heels, man. That's crazy.
So just his playmaking ability and like thinking about doing this on a team who isn't shooting very well, I think it just makes it that much more impressive.
Yeah, we were talking about that last week because I hadn't really thought about that. Like, the poorer his teammates shoot, the worse it is for his stat line. And I think Tom even made kind of a joke about that afterwards. He's like, man, Jeremy should be madder about the results of this game than me. He's like, his teammates took a few assists off of his stat line tonight by airballing those threes. Like, he really, if his team was shooting closer to 30% from 3, he'd probably have his stats juiced a little bit more because he's setting him up. He really is.
Yeah, and I think though, like you can't just talk about the assists, even though that's an elite level. Like already this year, he set a career high in scoring scored 15 against San Jose State, scored
3
8.
career highs. Because he scored 14 against Colgate, and that was a tied for a career high.
Right.
You're right. I'm sorry.
But still, yeah, tied his career high game 1. Game 3, he broke his record, and then against Detroit, broke it again with 18 points. And we're seeing, I think, just a little bit more versatility and confidence.
Set a career high in steals against Colgate.
Yeah, so
it's crazy.
Just in every way, he has elevated his game in a way that Michigan State really needed him to, with how much they lost in the backcourt. But seeing him being able to, I think he's shooting 40% from 3 this year. He's making pull-up jumpers, again, still getting into the lane. When he's able to score and assist at a high level, that just elevates this team so much. I think last year, at times, especially his outside shooting was pretty hit or miss. So teams were able to
even his taking outside shots was like not there super often.
And he still hasn't taken a lot, but this year, like even having that threat, teams aren't able to defend him the same way as they were last year, because he is more confident in his shot. He is more aggressive in looking for his shot. So I think, again, when they have to play him straight up, and allows him to kind of get more of that penetration that opens up outside passes, because defenses have to collapse. Or if they're going to sag on him, he's going to make you pay, like he did against Detroit.
Yeah. And from his perspective, I think he was said something along the lines to you too, of like, he's taking shots that he's confident he's going to make, which like sounds dumb, but I think this just speaks to how smart of a player is, and speaks to why his shooting percentage so far this season is so high, is that he's not like a heat checker. He's not just going to throw up shots to see how he's feeling. He's going to take a shot that he's confident he can make. And I think that's why you might see like fewer attempts from him too. Something that I really appreciated Tom said about him, and just shows how much like Tom sees these players as being developed, and it really is in his mind like a 4 or 5 year relationship with a lot of these guys, and not just a one and done. Of like, he was praising how much Jeremy has worked on his shooting game off of a pass, and how the next step, the next level, is being able to make that shoot off the dribble, and just, you know, really transferring those skills and building that confidence. And I've never thought about it in like kind of a stepwise progression like that, and maybe that's not the case for all players, but how awesome is it to, you know, have the confidence, have the leadership, have the passing locked down, that now you can just continue to elevate your game in other ways? Just makes me really excited for where he can go. It's not just like, oh no, he's just a floor general, you know, he's just a leader and a you know, passer. Like, he has other elements to his game that are still coming.
Yeah, and I think that's something crazy to think about. Like, as well as he's playing right now as one of the very best point guards in the whole country.
Yeah.
Like, we get 2 more years of Jeremy Fears after this.
And it's clear that the coaching staff doesn't really see a ceiling for him yet.
And I don't think he sees a ceiling for himself either, you know? And I think,
which is pretty cool.
I kind of talked about, with him after the game against Detroit, and just like, you've reached this new gear, this new level this year. Like, how much more do you feel like you have, or that you can get to? And he was like, I honestly feel like I'm one of the best passers in the country already, but I feel like, he was like, I have so much more to give. I have so many areas to improve in. And that's kind of when he mentioned just having the healthy off season to be able to work on some of those elements that he wasn't in previous off seasons. And if he continues to play at this level, even if Michigan State is only shooting 27% from 3, if his level of play is like this, offensively, defensively, from a leadership perspective, Michigan State's going to be very, very tough to beat. And you kind of think of some of the all-time great Michigan State teams, they've all pretty much all had a guy at point guard, and Jeremy Fears right now is looking to be like one of those guys for Tom Izzo.
And I think it's so easy to, you know, compare to past, you know, Cassius Winston or Mateen Cleaves. I know Tom's made that association a couple times, but I think I almost like more thinking about like, what were the elements of those players' games that really stood out? And one thing that I just absolutely loved about Cash, other than his ability to just ice skate past defenders, was his ability to see the court. And I felt like I could see the court better because Cash did such a good job of seeing the court. I don't know how to explain it. And Jeremy, I feel like really has that element this season and is really developing it. And I think he made the reference something about like, I feel like I'm looking at a hand of cards and like seeing how they fall and then choosing what I want to do. Like I think I made the reference last week. Like it feels like he's out there playing chess. And it really is like he's seeing the floor, he's setting things up the way he wants to. Yeah, we obviously could keep talking about him forever. But I think that was just like a really big takeaway. I totally agree. And I think obvious player of the game, you know, leading scorer, career high points for him. Yeah, feels like the sky's the limit with him at the helm.
Yeah, coming up for Michigan State, a busy week. Like I said, traveling to Florida. While it's not Maui, still a fun place to go in these cold, dark November nights. They will face East Carolina at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, which is just...
We love Feast Week, but come on, why do I got to work?
I have like a routine weekly meeting at 1 o'clock every single Tuesday that I can't get out of. So like, curse whoever made this tournament and decided this game.
Yeah,
I can maybe see a 1 o'clock game on Wednesday.
A lot of people
Friday.
taking off work.
Taking off.
It's
on
Tuesday. Most kids are still in school.
Come on.
Yeah.
But then Thursday they play North Carolina at
prime time, baby.
4:30. They will come on immediately after the Lions.
Love it. Don't even have to change the channel, right?
Don't have to change the channel. So you can just be on your couch in your food coma, in your nudge printing gear.
Yes.
Rooting on the Spartans. I mean, really a big opportunity for Michigan State. I know we kind of talked going into the season, really 4 marquee non-conference games.
I was just realizing this. We kind of lucked out with location.
We really did.
We're getting Arkansas and Duke at home. You've got Kentucky at a neutral location. And then you've got North Carolina also at a neutral location, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I know Arkansas we have kind of like a deal with where we're going to play them now in Arkansas next year. Is that the same case with Duke?
So it's actually not the same case with Duke. They're actually returning the favor to us because in 2021,
I was going to say, I do not remember playing Duke at Duke last year, but it was a few years ago.
When the COVID season, they had the teams host the Champions Classic instead of having it at like a neutral location.
That's right.
So Michigan State played at Cameron Indoor in 2021.
Okay.
So Michigan State was able to convince Duke, hey, we played at your place, now come play at our place.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
Not to my knowledge that Michigan State will be returning to...
So it's not like, oh, we're going to have to deal with the inverse of this next year.
Right.
Which, with the kids we got coming in, maybe we can do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, for sure. But that's going to be a big opportunity, I think.
Yeah.
If you can come away with a victory on Thursday and kind of start 3-0 in those marquee games.
Yeah.
And then the following Saturday get to host a top 5 Duke team at home. Like that is going to be, I think, win or lose, but especially if you win, that is going to be an electric environment and really, I think, an opportunity to like showcase. Not that they've already not done,
showcased how well
but like
they
that.
can
Hey,
play.
Michigan State's here for real. It's going to be an awesome opportunity in front of the home crowd. Like Izzo said, like you don't get that many opportunities in non-conference play to have a big time
home game
in the non-conference, and has the potential to be a top 10 matchup December 6th. Like that's the stuff that us Spartan fans, these players
just
live for. So I'm really excited, but obviously got to take care of a pretty good North Carolina team who's impressed this year. Obviously they kind of beat the brakes off of Kansas early in this year. Have just a phenomenal freshman, Caleb Wilson, their shooting guard, who is just playing like one of the best players in the country. They did, though, lose another one of their guards who's going to be out for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So they're not exactly going to be at full strength, but still going to be a very tough test for the Spartans. We'll see how kind of their experience and like veteran squad can do against maybe this younger,
at
maybe
least, bench depth wise, like younger, fresher to being Michigan State Spartans team.
Yeah. So this would be so much fun to watch. I think these are two very good teams that both are playing at a higher level than a lot of people thought at the beginning of the season. But just another litmus test, just another opportunity to grow, to kind of build towards Big Ten play coming up in a couple weeks. But you can't ask for more to be able to play North Carolina on Thanksgiving right after the Lions.
It's gonna be so fun.
It's perfect.
I love it. It's so funny. I know this about myself, but the more of these top 25 matchups we get through, the more competitive I get about them. Like, I think initially in the season, I was like, so blasé-faire about it. Like, it's going to be good. We're going to get good experience about it. I hope we don't lose, but like, it's okay. It's going to be fine. And then we beat Arkansas. And we were talking about like, wow, it's so nice to like, head into the next, birth of these other 3 games, having a win under our belts. If you lose that first one, then the pressure's on to win the other ones. And then we went and we beat Kentucky. And then it was like, oh man, it just feels so good. Like, we can keep going. And then I'm thinking about like, well, maybe we can't afford to lose one of these. And I'm like, well, I don't want to lose to freaking North Carolina. Like, we got to beat them. And I'm like, well, we're sure as heck not losing to Duke at home. Come on, boys.
No, I'm the same way.
Like, now they went from feeling like these like kind of abstract, like, oh, these are going to be good learning opportunities for the team, to be like, we cannot lose these games.
No, I'm the same way. Like, I think if you would have asked me before the season if Michigan State would have won 2 of 4, I would have been like, geez, like, I am very happy with that. But now I'm like, give me all 4 of these games. Like, we can beat all of these teams. Let's start with
3. We're gonna start with 3 on Thursday. We have full confidence, and I think it's just because they showed that they can do it. Like, they're showing that they can play that well. And obviously, we're gonna have grace. We know you can't win every game. I mean, maybe you can. We'll see. Oh man, it's exciting. It's gonna be a fun week of basketball. Definitely gonna be timing my lunch at work that I always chart through. Maybe turn that game up on my phone a little bit. Definitely gonna have to watch it back later that evening. So many fun things. I feel like I just want to say one more thing. I think that was kind of fun about maybe Tom not being so intense after the game on Friday night, and just being okay, maybe at least initially, with the team kind of existing, was just like the attitude in the locker room was just kind of like chill and happy. You could tell the guys were like pretty happy with how they played, came away with a win. Still probably riding that high a little bit coming off of Kentucky. And it was just super fun getting to talk with a lot of the players. And I just was struck so much about like how much of a brotherhood it really is. And it makes me excited that they're traveling to go to Florida. Just like another opportunity for them to kind of just get closer. But even with like the new transfers and the incoming freshmen, like these guys just seem to care about each other so much. And you're going to see it soon on socials if it's not already out. But I did a fun little piece just like going around and asking a lot of the players different questions. And one of them kind of focused on something from a teammate. And it was just so cool when I said that word. I like saw all of their faces just kind of like light up, because I think they get asked about their own play so much, or like even like you can tell, sometimes reporters are asking questions to get a certain angle on like a different player. But it was just kind of like this open-ended, like, hey, share something with me about your teammate. And it was just like, oh, about a teammate? And they would just kind of like go off. And it was just, I think it was just really cool. And it speaks to so much of the culture and like why we love being Michigan State fans, why we love Tom Izzo so much. He creates an environment where players want to win, but they want to win because they love each other and they support each other and they believe in each other. And I just think like that kind of unselfish play is just what makes it so much fun. So be sure to check that out. Should be coming out on Spartans Illustrated socials soon.
Yeah. Well, enjoy your Thanksgiving week. Thanks for listening to us and spending a little bit of time with your Spartan family during this week. We'll, like I said, be with you next week to cover the men's basketball team, the women's soccer team in the Elite 8.
Crazy.
And then also probably going to have a lot to talk about when it comes to football as well.
Not going to want to miss next week.
So make sure to tune in next week. But as always, go green,
go white, go state.